is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea, then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Colleen, and let's just get into the weird news. So, today I really wanted to focus on weird facts. Just some weird, random facts that I found that I thought were really interesting, and I think you guys would think was really interesting too. Just kind of little weird tidbits here and there. So let's start with the first one. This one I thought was crazy. I guess it makes sense when you hear it, and like kind of when you think about it, but when you're just kind of thinking about this kind of thing, it's not what you would think. So, if you are a child of an identical twin, and you have a cousin from the other identical twin, then you're genetically siblings with your cousin. Isn't that nuts? So let me explain this again. If genetic twins, if both of them have babies, they're not cousins, they're technically siblings. And this is why. Because they share 25% of their DNA. 25% of their DNA, which is a lot compared to what you usually share with a cousin, which would be 12.5% of your DNA. So that's like an exponentially larger number of DNA that you're sharing with a cousin than you normally would. I thought this was just really interesting and kind of crazy to think about, like, that if you're the child of an identical twin, that your cousin is actually more like your brother or sister. Like, that's kind of nuts to me. I don't know. I thought that one was really weird. Let's get on to another one. So another one that I saw was, this one just blows my mind. Like every state in the United States has a state bird. And like an official bird. Like I'm from New Mexico and our official bird is the roadrunner. And that's that's kind of the normal thing, is there's a bird and it's related to, you know, the area that you're in. I see roadrunners all the time. I live next to an area where a lot of them, you know, run around and they're great. But this just blew my mind, okay? So in Redondo, I'm not good with words. But in Redondo Beach, California, the national bird, or the official bird, I guess, since 1983 is the Good Year Blimp. What? The Good Year Blimp. First off, a blimp is not a bird. And I guess they really fought for this back in 1983. Like, they fought to have the Good Year Blimp as their bird. And for some reason it passed, and now that Redondo, I'm not good, once again, with names or words. But this beach in California, like, their bird is literally the Good Year Blimp. Isn't that crazy? Like, I've got Roadrunner, and then other places have, you know, a bird that is highly populated in their area, and, you know, like, all sorts of stuff like that. Eagles or owls or, you know, blue jays or whatever's in the area, but the Good Year Blimp? My real question here is, how many times do you see the Good Year Blimp when you're in Redondo Beach, California? I want to know. If you're from there, let me know how many times you actually have seen the Good Year Blimp. Also, what are your thoughts? Like, I'm really curious on what you think about this, because this, I don't know, I just thought this was one of the, like, weirdest things that I've heard. Like, it's just so strange that the Good Year Blimp is a official bird of a place. Cause it's not a bird, it's not an animal, it's a man-made aircraft. I mean, it's sponsored by Goodyear. I mean, like, what is that? Like, it's sponsored by Goodyear, it's not even an animal, and it's, I don't know, good marketing maybe? Bad marketing maybe? I don't know. It's a really weird thing. I want to know what you think, and if you're from there, first off, let me know how I'm pronouncing it, and if I am terribly wrong, because I'm probably, but second off, let me know what you think of the Good Year Blimp being your official bird, or if you even knew that. I'm kind of curious. We'll go on to another one. Another one is that adult cats only meow at humans and not other cats. I actually think this is not true. I think this isn't true because I have cats. I've got 3. And they meow at each other. Like, when I was looking this up, I noticed that they said that, that you'll see that most of your cats won't actually meow at other cats, but I don't think that's true because my cats yell at each other all the time. I don't know. I mean, they do answer me when I meow because, you know, maybe they like me. I don't know. But, well, I feed them, so I'd hope they like me. But, I really don't know if this is true. I feel like it's not. I feel like it's kind of, BS, if you will. I really do. I don't think that this one's true at all, but I thought it was kind of funny to think about that, like, they make it to mimic, they say they make the sounds to mimic human sounds, so they kind of catch up on you talking to whoever you're talking to, or yourself, or, you know, whoever you're talking to. I'm talking to myself here. But, you know, whoever you're talking to, and they kind of hear those sounds and they mimic them in their meows to kind of be like they're talking to you, I guess, is what they say it is. And I mean, I could see that. I really could see that, but I do feel like they meow at each other. I don't know. Do any of you guys have cats? Because I have cats. Like I've said before. Have I said I have cats enough? Oh. But you know, like, if any of you guys have cats, do you notice this? Do you notice that they only meow back at you or meow at you and not so much at each other? Because I don't see that, and now I'm kind of like looking for it at this point because I want to know if this is real or not. Well, now they're not going to do it because I'm looking for it, but I'd really like to know if you guys have heard this before, or if you think that this is not true. You know, I don't think this is true, like, personally, but I do think maybe there are elements of this that's true, like the part where their meows are semi-mimicking the human sounds that they hear, or they're trying to mimic, because they do make so many sounds. Cats make so many sounds, if you didn't know. I don't remember exactly the number. Oh, I should have looked it up. But the, like, exact number of different sounds that a cat makes is actually insane. Look it up. Tweet me the actual number, since I forgot to look it up. But, like, on the real, though, I think this is kind of crazy. I think it's kind of weird that, you know, I guess they don't meow at other cats, but I don't know. Maybe it's like in movies where they just talk to each other through, like, brainwaves. I don't know if that's real either. I doubt that's real at all. But I really think that is kind of crazy that, like, you know, they say, that's what they say it is. I also think, that the fact that identical twins who have babies are actually siblings. What do you think? Tell me what you think about these 3 different things that I just told you, and I think it's time, or just about time, for a break, and I'll be right back to give you some more really weird facts that I've found on my excursion of looking for weird facts to share with you guys, because I didn't know these, and now you'll know these, and it'll be great to tell at parties. And I will see you back here in just a second.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about weird facts about identical twins, official birds, and cats. Now let's talk some more weird facts. I want to talk to you about the group Hanson. Do you remember the group Hanson? Mbop was their, number one hit. I honestly probably couldn't tell you any other songs that they made. But, I mean, maybe. But that was, their big hit. They were really young. They all had really long hair. But if you don't know what that is, go look it up. But they have a beer, okay? They have a hoppy beer that they created, and it is literally called, are you ready for this? This is the best thing ever. Hop. I mean, come on. Hop, mbop. Okay, so seriously, this is the funniest thing to me. I don't know why, I just think it's great. I think this is one of the greatest things ever. And apparently one of the members is trying to take full credit for it, saying that he was joking around, saying, oh, if we made a IPA, we'd call it hop, and then they did. And I think this is one of the greatest things, and I want one just for the bottle. I'm not a hoppy beer kind of person, but I want one just for the bottle. I really do. It's just kind of cool. But tell me if you've had it or if you've heard of it before. I'd really like to know. And I was telling you to tweet me earlier, and I didn't tell you our Twitter. How could I do that to you? How could I tell you to tweet me and then you don't know where to go? Seriously though, tweet us at Weird News, GSMC Weird News _ or GSMC _ Weird News. Sorry, my bad. But anyway, so if you've seen this, tweet me, and then any of the stuff I told you to tweet me about earlier, now you can because you know where to go. Anyway, moving on to our next one, which I think this is one of the coolest things, and we should do this everywhere. Seriously, this is one of the coolest things. Blood donors in Sweden receive a text when their blood is used. I think literally that's the coolest thing ever. Because that's the problem. You go and you donate blood and then you're just kind of well, I hope somebody who really needed this gets it. I really do. And this tells you who got it. It tells you that it was used and all that. I just think that's the coolest thing. I think we should do that in America. I think we should do that everywhere. For real. This is one of the coolest things I've seen. I'm all for receiving a text letting me know when my blood was used. And if you got some spare blood, go donate it. For real. People need it. It's really helpful when you do it. And usually you get a cookie. But also there is one thing that I did notice that a lot of people, I guess, I guess you don't think about it when you go donate blood. It's that there's a weight limit to donate blood. So if you're not heavy enough in respects, then you can't donate blood. So just be wary of that, especially if you're younger and you want to donate blood at a school blood drive or something. Just be wary that you might not be able to. When I was in high school, I could not donate blood because I was under the weight limit. So I am a small person, but for real, just keep that in mind too when you're thinking about donating blood. And if you're in Sweden and you're listening to this, let me know if you've ever done this. This is seriously the coolest thing I've ever heard about. Donating blood and then knowing when it was used. That's the coolest thing because then you kind of feel better about doing it. I don't know. That's kind of weird to say that, like, you're like, oh, I did some good. But I mean, you do some good every time you donate blood anyway. This is just kind of nice to know about. So, now that we've talked about blood enough, let's move on. This is also one of the coolest things that I found. Okay. So, have you ever heard of a moon bow? So, I know you've heard of a rainbow, but there is such thing as a moon bow. This is a rainbow that happens at night. What? It's like the coolest thing I've ever heard. So, this is caused by the reflection, refraction, and dispersion of light. And it tends to happen in places with waterfalls and mists, but only when it's near a full moon. So they say it's a very, very rare occurrence, and there's kind of not a way that you can, like, go see one, like you can plan out to go see a moonbow or whatever. They just kind of happen, and they're only going to happen at places with waterfalls and mist, which is the coolest thing. I looked up a picture of this because I was like, is this any different than a regular rainbow? No, but it looks incredible. You should really go look this up because I am just floored at what a moonbow looks like. For real. If you've ever seen one, let me know. I really want to see a moonbow now. This is the coolest thing. I get excited when I see rainbows, like every time I'm like a 5-year-old. I'm like, oh, it's a rainbow. And my husband's like, okay, thanks. Like, for real though, like, this is the coolest thing. I get excited about rainbows, and a moonbow, I mean, come on. That has to be one of the coolest things I've ever heard about. I mean, I love the moon just in general. I think it's gorgeous. I mean, a rainbow at night amongst a waterfall, and there's a moon, and the whole thing, like, that's gotta be the prettiest thing. Seriously, look up a photo. Look up a photo of a moonbow, because it is incredible. They're probably one of the coolest things. I mean, you're probably like, yeah, it's a rainbow, but it's a night. But, I mean, it's such a rare phenomenon that it's, you know, they're incredible. And if you've ever had a chance to see one, I am very jealous of you. I mean, where I'm at, there's not a lot of misty, waterfall-y areas, so I'm in the low percentage of places to see a moonbow. But if you live somewhere that's near a waterfall with a lot of mist, you get really misty, just, I don't know, let me know. I really want to know. I'm excited about the fact that this is a thing. I'm really excited about the fact that moonbows are a thing. I don't know why, I just really am. I don't know. They're just kind of the coolest thing I've heard of. Let's do one more on this section. So this one is another one that I'm not sure if I think that it's actually true. So they say that chewing gum will stop you from crying while you're cutting onions. Now, I've tried a bunch of different things to not cry while cutting onions. I almost said chewing onions. Oh, good God. But and none of it's worked. And I've tried the gum thing and it didn't work for me. But I have friends who religiously, they use gum when they're chopping onions, and it helps them so much. I don't know why it didn't work for me. Maybe it's just because I have weird luck. I don't have good luck. I don't have bad luck. I just have weird luck. So maybe it's just because I have weird luck, but I just don't think this works. I've heard, like, if you stand in a tub of water, it helps, and I've heard so many different things that are supposed to help you to stop crying while cutting onions, and honestly, the only thing that I know works is just cutting the ends off works the most. Like, you just gotta cut enough of the end off, and you're gonna cry less than you would, you know, if you're just cutting the onion normally. I found that works the most. Also, depending on how, like, the freshness of your onion. If it's an old onion, you're gonna cry more, that kind of thing. I don't know if this works. If you've ever done this and it works for you, let me know, because I'm seriously on the fence with this one. Maybe I'll have to try it again, because I've tried it before, and they didn't really say if there was a specific type of gum you should be chewing, but maybe I should switch gum? maybe a bubble gum instead of a mint gum. I don't know. It's supposed to be that, like, your mouth is distracting from other senses, like, what you're doing is distracting you from the other senses, and so that stops you from the crying, but I don't know if that's a real thing. For real, I'm not sure, but I would love to know if you guys think it is. I'd love to know if a lot of people think it is, because I'm honestly curious about this, because once again, just like the cat one I talked about earlier, I've done this kind of thing, or I've seen this kind of thing, and I just don't feel like this is an actual thing. Like, this actually works. But I really want to know what you think. Honestly, I am really curious. I'm really curious about this. And I'm excited about moonbows. I'm so excited about moonbows right now. How excited are you about this? I really hope that, like, when I'm talking about these tips, they're things that you've never heard of before, because I'd like to give you new facts, new fun things that you can tell people, or, you know, little tricks up your sleeve and stuff like that, because it's always fun to have something interesting to talk about, and it always helps to have something weird to talk about to spark up a conversation with somebody. Like if you're at a party, or if you're just meeting people, or if you're hanging out with friends, or even just hanging out with friends and you meet somebody you didn't know. That kind of thing. These kind of things really help as a conversation starter. So I hope they kind of help you. I'm going to take another break, and I'll be right back after with some more weird facts for you.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. Before the break, we talked about chewing gum. We talked about Hansen's beer, blood donors, and moonbows. Now let's talk about some more weird facts. So the first two facts that I want to talk about are internet related. I thought that would be kind of fun. And so this one, I actually am very curious about this, because I know that some of these are actually not banned anymore, but there are a lot of websites, like popular websites here in the US and probably Canada and the UK and stuff like that, but that are banned in China. So the ones that I found that are banned in China are Google, Facebook, YouTube, Wikipedia, Twitter, Instagram, and the New York Times, and Pinterest. Now, I'm not really 100% sure if these are still all banned. And apparently there are many more. From what I was reading, it just said many more, and I was like, okay, well, you gonna give me the rest or no? But, so they say all these places are banned, or these websites are banned for not following, I guess, Chinese guidelines or whatnot. And I'm not sure about that. I feel like that there are some things on some of the websites that might be banned, but not all of them. I thought that YouTube had a Chinese server and only some of the stuff on the YouTube was banned in China, but I'm not 100% sure. If you know more about this, let me know. Like, seriously, tweet us, because I'm so curious. I couldn't find a lot about this because it seems to be an ever-changing thing, like an ever-changing topic when it comes to what's banned and what's not banned in China. And I'm very curious. If any of you have been there, taken a vacation or anything, and haven't been able to use any of these, let me know. I'm so curious. I've never been to China. Seems like a wonderful place. I don't know. Never been there. But I'm honestly really curious if all of these websites are actually banned. I can understand the New York Times being banned because of, maybe stuff they talk about or some of the stuff. And I can understand Facebook for the same reason. I don't understand Google or Pinterest. I don't get the Pinterest thing at all. But, if you know more about this, let me know, because I am so curious. I thought this is really interesting to even just think about in general when it came to, what was banned, because not a lot of stuff is banned here in the US when it comes to the internet stuff. I mean, we've got Google, Facebook, YouTube, Wikipedia, Twitter, Instagram, the New York Times, and Pinterest. I have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. And my mom sends me a bunch of New York Times articles. We, as a company, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. I mean, you should go check us out, like, for real. But if you know, let me know. Tweet me. Tweet me at GSMC_weird news. For real. I'd like to know. I just want to interact with you guys. I'm talking to you guys. I want to interact. Talk back with me. Let me know. But on the real though, let's move on to another weird internet thing. I thought this was very strange. It's something that I've never thought about. And, I read this and I was like, what? So, you are more likely to get a computer virus from visiting a religious site than from visiting a porn site. I thought this was weird because it's something you never think about that. It's just so weird. According to research from the security firm Synantic, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure. They say religious websites carry 3 times more malware threats than porn. And I think that's kind of crazy, but they say that is because they're not protecting their websites as much as these, porn sites are protecting their websites because they want the traffic. They want the people to come in and, view their product, I guess, and view their website. So they're protecting themselves more than they were because they want that foot traffic from people coming and going to the website. Unlike religious sites, which just don't think about that as much, so they don't really protect themselves or take the extra step to protect themselves. They say the average number of security threats on religious sites is about 115, and on adult sites is 25. Like, that number is ridiculously different. Like, it's on a whole nother spectrum from the other one. Like, that's a lot of security threats from religious sites, but I do understand the fact that this, why this would happen. Like, I understand the fact that, maybe they're just not taking the extra precautions to take care of their website, and, they're not thinking about the foot traffic that they're going to get on their website as much as, an adult site would take, because they are wanting this constant foot traffic and wanting people to come to their sites and enjoy their products or what have you. And, they want people on, and if they're going to be, if there's going to be all these security risks or threats, then that's not going to help them in the long run. So I understand it when it comes to that. Now, I want to know what you guys think about this. I just thought this was a fascinating, little tidbit of information because it's something that you'd never really think about in general. I don't know, do any of you guys, work for a religious site or have made a religious website? I know there are a lot of people out there who make websites for other people, and I'm just kind of curious about that. I just never thought about that. This is just not something that you think about, these different websites that you're going to, and they're on the, opposite end of the spectrum just in general of what they are. So I really think that it is kind of nuts that this is a thing. Now, one last tidbit that I want to throw in right now that I thought would be kind of fun and off the topic of internet is bubble wrap. I love bubble wrap. I love to pop it. I don't know, I just like the way it feels. Bubble wrap is finger pleasing and the sound is ear pleasing, for sure. But bubble wrap was originally intended to be wallpaper. So they made bubble wrap specifically with wallpaper in mind because they thought that it would help the insulation and whatnot. But eventually they came, like, once they were trying to sell it and it wasn't working very well, they came to the conclusion that it actually probably wasn't the best wallpaper, but that it would do better as packing paper to secure items inside a box. So I thought that was packing plastic? Packing peanuts? But that's what, I thought that was kind of cool to think about. And to throw another packing one in here that I know, and actually it's probably pretty well known at this point, but a lot of newer packing peanuts are actually edible. They're like biodegradable and edible, and they're basically what Cheetos, like the big cheese puffs are, just not covered in Cheeto dust. I may or may not have tried one before because I heard this and I was like, I don't believe it, and it is very true. They are edible. They're edible, and I don't recommend that you do it, but they're supposed to be better for the environment in general. That's why they made them this way. So a lot of packing peanuts are, but just remember that not all packing peanuts are actually edible. So don't go sticking all different types of packing peanuts in your mouth because that's actually pretty gross. Like, for real, don't stick packing peanuts in your mouth. Take it from me. That's gross and probably not the best thing to do. But I did it. I mean, come on. I had to try. But don't follow my instruction. It's not a good thing to do. Don't stick packing peanuts in your mouth. But it is kind of cool to know that the newer ones, and they're trying to fully integrate into these biodegradable packing peanuts. So it is better for our planet. Now, I'm going to take another quick short break, and after the break, we'll be back with some weird facts to help you make friends at parties. Or just some weird facts, so the more you know.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and One Championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. Now, before the break, we talked about some weird facts. Just as we've been talking this entire time about weird facts, we talked about some internet weird facts, about China banning websites, where you're most likely to get computer viruses from, and then we also talked about bubble wrap and packing peanuts as a little extra one. Now, let's talk about some other weird facts that I found. Now, this one I like a lot. I like the idea of it, but the colors I have an issue with, and I'll tell you why. So, Ohio uses, like, yellow license plates for DUI offenders. So anybody who is a DUI offender must use a yellow license plate with red letters. And they're called scarlet plates or party plates, I guess, is what I saw. And that's kind of funny to me because where I'm from, one of our license plate is yellow with sometimes red numbers. So I think that's kind of, like, I have an issue with the colors just because that is, we've kind of switched over to like a turquoise color, but we, still do have the yellow licenses. So I think it's weird color choice. Maybe pick a different color choice. Actually, no, we have black license plates too. Maybe, because I was about to say, then maybe use black license plates, but I mean, now we have black license plates, so maybe we should just pick a color that no one has. That would be great. But for real, I think this is a great idea. I really think that it's a good idea to, like, mark those people who have, committed a DUI, because it's no joke. It's absolutely no joke to drink and drive or drive under the influence of any sort of, drug or mind-altering substance. It's no joke. That's how people die. People die because of this. And it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not funny. DUI rates are always at an all-time high, and it's no joke. And so I really do think that this is a good idea, because it could really monitor, it can really monitor who's driving on the road, and you can kind of have a little bit of insight into, maybe I should be a little wary. And then I also think it would help police officers, besides them pulling someone over and then having to look up from their, record if they've had a DUI or not. I think this really does kind of help, and I think it's a good idea just in general. Now, on the topic of car weird news, let's talk about the Lego company. I love Legos. I love to build things. I love to put things together, models, all sorts of stuff. But I love Legos a lot. I build a lot of Legos, but they're very expensive. And, they're very expensive. But Lego is actually the world's my words today are somewhere where I don't know. If you find them, send them to me. But Lego is the world's largest tire manufacturer, actually tiny tire manufacturer in the entire world. So they produce more tires per year than any other manufacturer in the world, which is insane because they're not like actual tires, I guess. It says that they produce about 318 million tires per year, which is more than 870,000 tires per day. That is so many tiny tires. And I guess that's something you just don't think about, is that they're actually manufacturing way more tires than any other tire company. But it also kind of makes sense because the tires are, tiny and not full-size tires. But that's kind of crazy to think that Lego is the one doing that. They're the one producing that many tires. It's a lot of tires to produce in one whole shebang. I mean, like, for real, it's a lot of tires. Have you ever had Legos with the little, any sort of Lego vehicle that has the tires and they feel like actual tires? That's what I'm talking about. Or if you have kids who do Legos, or if you're an adult like me and you love to build Legos because you like to build things and you're secretly still a child inside. But, if you've ever felt those tires, they do feel like actual tires. So I guess it makes sense why they're technically the world's largest tire manufacturer. Because they are producing tires. It's just not full-size tires like any other tire manufacturer would. And probably a lot cheaper just in general, because you ever have to go get a new tire? They're not cheap. They're not. They're pretty expensive. Especially if you have a new car, because then you're just, give you all my money to give me new tires, please. For real. It's very expensive. But on another note, let's add another little fact in here. This one I thought was pretty funny, honestly. And I did try it. And I bet you anything that you will also try this either right after I tell you it or after you're done listening to this podcast. So, it is impossible to hum while holding your nose. Now, like I said, after I saw this, I definitely tried it. And I can assure you it is very almost unable. So if you're humming, kind of like that. Now, if you hold your nose and try to hum, yeah, you get that noise. It's not a pleasant noise. But, you can't really hum while you hold your nose. It's probably airflow thing. I couldn't find any actual, information about that, but, yeah, it's not possible. Let me know, like, really let me know if you've tried this, or if after I told you about it, you tried it, because I definitely tried it after I read this. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you can't lick your elbow, and then you have to try because somebody told you can't do it. I cannot lick my elbow. I have tried that. It doesn't work. I have met people who can, though, and that's like some sort of double jointed nonsense, because I cannot. My little chicken wings don't bend that way at all. Let me know if you can, though. I'd really be curious if there are people who can lick their elbow out there. Also, if you're able to hum while holding your nose, tweet at me. Like, tweet at me and let me know that you can do this, because I am so curious. And also, if you can, how did you do it, and what are your secrets? Because I want them. I want the secrets to humming while holding my nose, if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible. Also, if you know more about this, also tweet me at GSMC_weird news, because I want to know more. And I couldn't really find a lot about, like, the reason that you can't, but I would really like to know more about it. And if you know, let me know. I really do think it's an airflow thing, because that's what it feels like when you're doing it. But I'd like to know more than the internet can give me, I guess. And sometimes people can explain it a little bit better than the internet anyway. So, yeah. I really mean, it's... It's a weird thing. You'll try it, I promise you. And it's kind of weird, and you feel like you're really trying to push air out of your nose when you're not. And I guess you don't think about it when you're humming, that your nose is in any way, shape, or form a part of that. But I guess it is. So, we talked about Legos, which I love, and I hope you love, or your kids love, because Legos are awesome. And they're tiny little tires. And we talked about all sorts of stuff. We talked about the DUI offenders, and honestly, I do think that is great. And please be wary when you're driving at night anywhere, especially on Friday nights and Saturday nights or holidays or whatnot. Be careful when you're driving, because DUI is a thing, and it's most of the time not you, it's someone else who is under the influence who's driving. And just be vigilant. And also, if you had a few drinks or consume some sort of mind-altering substance, don't get behind a wheel. It's really messed up. Lots of people every year lose their life, and it's not fair. Before I bring the entire mood down, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, I'll bring that mood right back up.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about Lego, DUI offenders, all sorts of stuff like that. Now let's talk some more weird facts. So I got some real interesting ones for you, like I have this entire time. I did a lot of research for you because I want you to have this weird information stocked in your brain for, I don't know, parties, weird times, interviews. Just kidding. Probably don't use it in interviews unless they ask you something like that. Anyway, let's get into the next fact. So this one's kind of gross, but I find it so fascinating. So frogs use their eyeballs to swallow. So when frogs are eating, you see that they close their eyes, and it turns out some scientists took a frog and they used an x-ray machine on it, and while it was eating to see the process, and this is gross. When they close their eyes, like the eyeballs, retract down into their esophagus to help push down the food. Yeah, it's pretty gross, but it's kind of awesome to think about. Nature's weird. Nature, you're weird. But I appreciate everything you do. So I think that's a gross, first off. It's disgusting to think about, but it's also like so fascinating. Let's move on to the next one and bring it up a little bit, or maybe down a little bit, depending on what you think. So apparently Walt Disney almost named the dwarves from Snow White Chesty, Tubby, Burpy, Deafy, Hickey, Wheezy, and Awful. Yeah. Awful. That's what they are. They are awful. Those are the worst names, and I'm glad that somebody went in and was like, hey, Mr. Disney, Walt, I don't think this is the best idea for people to use. It's kind of probably gross, and I'm glad that they changed it, because could you imagine watching Snow White? I mean, everybody got Disney Plus right now, and I assume that you're watching all your old favorite classics, like maybe I have been doing, and could you imagine going back and watching, you're like, really? His name was Tubby? That was, the fifth dwarf Tubby? Or Awful? Hey, look, it's Awful. Come on. I'm glad that this is not actually a thing anymore. Because this is probably one of the weirdest things I've seen. Whether it's 100% factual, I'm not sure. I couldn't find anything else about it. I really went digging because I was curious. And I've got a bunch of books about Walt Disney because once upon a time when I was a little baby tot, I did a school project on him. And I couldn't find anything about this, so I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me, don't at me. But if you made a Snow White movie, what would you name your dwarves? I'm just curious. Tweet me. For real, I want to talk with you guys. I want to interact with you guys. So tweet me about everything and anything. And I just want to see how lovely you are, because I bet you are all lovely. Let's move on to the next weird one. So I thought this was kind of funny. I love a good lobster. They're weird looking, and it's kind of gross because when you cook them, they scream as they die. That's not the fact, but that is a fact if you didn't know. If you've never cooked a lobster, they scream, and it's terrifying. If you steam it alive, they scream, and it's scary. But let's move from that, because that's not what it is. Lobsters are weird looking creatures that taste pretty good. They're bottom feeders, and they taste with their feet. Lobsters use their feet to taste things, which I think is really interesting and something I didn't even think about, since they have the antennae, and you kind of think that maybe that's what they taste like or what they feel with, but I guess they use their feet to taste with. So the question is, when they're walking around, do they taste everything? Do they just taste the sea, ocean floor, since they are bottom feeders? Is that what they do? I don't know. But I am very curious. Could you imagine if you tasted with your feet and you're just walking along and you're like, oh, asphalt. Oh, I hate that taste. The taste is gross. Oh, why does my floor taste like cleaning solution? Oh, yeah, I cleaned it. I don't know. I'm really curious if it's an all the time thing, or if it's a, they can switch it on and off depending on what it is. Nature is really weird, and I commend them for being really weird. On the topic of nature, let's talk flocks. So, as most people know, a flock of crows is called a murder, which is kind of the best thing ever. Oh, it's a flock of crows. No, it's a murder. Okay, but honestly, that's one of the coolest things. But I found out that a flock of ravens has two names. And a flock of ravens can be called unkindness, so I guess it's unkindness. But also, it can be called a conspiracy, and I like that one. A flock of ravens. Oh no, it's a conspiracy. That's kind of cool. Now you know, and instead of just being oh, a flock of crows is a murder. Did you know that? Now you can be oh, a flock of ravens, is a conspiracy. Like, I don't know. I think that's actually really cool. I like when things are named funny. Or like terms for one thing is actually a term for something else. And I don't know. I appreciate the weirdness in the world, and I definitely appreciate that when it comes to flocks of birds. Now let's talk candy. I love candy. I've got a major sweet tooth. Like, I love all kinds of chocolate. I love all kinds of gummy candies. I mean, I love sour candies, but sometimes they hurt my precious little taste buds. Tasters. Little tasty buds. But I love candy. So let's talk Three Musketeers. I love Three Musketeers. I'm weird. I eat them a particular way where I take all the chocolate off and then I eat the nougat center. Does anybody else do that? Am I just the only person who does that? My husband thinks it's really weird, but I have a system. I have a serious system for eating Three Musketeers. But anyway, Three Musketeer bars got their name because they used to come in 3 flavors. I mean, now they come in a bunch of different flavors too, I found out. They make like a fudge Three Musketeers. It's not that good. But I think it's out there. Like, I mean, or is that actually might be Milky Way? Either way, they do make other flavors of Musketeers now, but apparently when they came out in the 1930s, they came in 3 separate flavors, which were vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. I'm really curious what they tasted like back then. Like, I really want to know what they tasted like in the 1930s when you could, like, pick your flavor or what have you. But they stopped doing that because it was very expensive to make the 3 different flavors and whatnot, so they ended up going to the regular nougat, and that's kind of what we have today is our Three Musketeers with our, I guess, kind of chocolatey nougat, but they did come in 3 flavors, and I'm actually very curious of what they tasted like back in the 1930s. I love candy, and so I would have loved to taste it. I love everything sweet. Do you love sweet? Do you have a sweet tooth? I have a sweet tooth. I bleed chocolate. I am just 100% sweet tooth all the time, 24/7. I might eat chocolate daily. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very unhealthy habit. Don't follow my habit, like, for real. It's probably not the best for you. But I love that. We just talked about weird frogs in their eyeballs and chocolate in the same situation, which is probably not the greatest things to put together, but once again, tweet me, let me know. Let me know the name of your dwarves. If you made, like, a Snow White, what would your dwarves be? I want to know. I don't know what I'd name mine, but I'll think of them. Maybe I'll tweet them. Maybe I'll let you know. But for real, let me know what your dwarves' names would be. Also, are you watching Disney Plus? I am. Tweet me your recommendations of what to watch. But I'm going to take a quick break once again, and we'll come back with some more real weird stuff. Love talking about weird stuff? You love hearing about it? Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, and we were just talking about some weird facts. I was telling you about weird facts from all over the world. Now, I'm going to tell you one more weird fact, and then I'll tell you some weird facts about myself. I think that'd be kind of cool. Get to know me. And let's start with that weird fact. So, the last weird fact I have for you guys is that it rains diamonds on Jupiter. So, if you went to Jupiter and it rained straight diamonds. First off, you'd probably not live on Jupiter, but if it rained diamonds, it would be hellish. But also, that's one of the coolest things. Could you imagine how that looks when it rains diamonds? Oh, I bet it looks stunning from afar. Not from on Jupiter, but from afar. Jupiter's my favorite planet, by the way. Jupiter and Pluto. Pluto doesn't get enough recognition. But it is. That's a weird fact. Let's get into the weird facts about me. Okay. Let's see. First weird fact, besides the fact that Jupiter is my favorite planet and has always been my favorite planet, my favorite animal is the bat. Bats are my favorite. They are the coolest animal. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they're all adorable, and they need more love. My favorite shark is the hammerhead shark. One day I will swim with them, but I will not swim with great white sharks. If I could give all my money to research, it would be to transverse myelitis research. And that's because I have something called transverse myelitis. It is very rare, but also not as rare as you'd think. So I had an inflammation, or I had a, what's it called? I had like a sinus infection, and it spread to my spinal cord, and it knocked out a good portion of my nerves, and I cannot feel from the chest down, but I can still walk, and I am very mobile. A lot of people who have this are not, and they get numbness and everywhere, and it actually doesn't really affect everybody the same way, and it doesn't happen in the same way. If you'd like to hear a weird news podcast about that, let me know. I might actually make a whole podcast on that, because it's a topic I'd really like to talk about. It's very near and dear to my heart, but I have transverse myelitis. I'd give all my money to them. Also, if I could give a good portion of my money to research, I would also give it to sharks, because I love sharks. Let's talk another weird fact about me. I love cop shows. I absolutely love cop shows. Cops, Live PD, You're Under Arrest, which is on Netflix, and it's great. I love cop shows. I don't know why, I just do. I really love cop shows and horror movies. I love horror movies. That's probably not as weird as cop shows, but that's a thing. Let's see. Another weird fact about me. I cannot lick my elbow or hum while holding my nose like we talked about earlier. Ha! Bring it back around. Okay, so, I mean, everybody's got weird facts about themselves. There's weird facts everywhere in the world, and I'd really like to know weird facts about you guys, or weird facts that you guys have heard. I really want to be, really open with you guys on Twitter. I want to be able to talk, have conversations, back and forths. So really, seriously, tweet us at GMC_weird news. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. Hit us up there. I really want to communicate with you guys more. That's a weird fact. I want to communicate with you guys more. I really do. I love talking to you. I love talking about weird news. I love weird stuff. I am racked full of weird facts now, and so are you. I hope that you use these weird facts to, really kind of, make friends? Make friends with weird facts. I've done that. Probably my closest / best friend and I bond over weird facts. We like to sculpt together, and make weird things, and I think I sculpted an eyeball once with her, and we watch weird shows about animals, and everybody's weird in their own special way, and that's what I love about people, is the weirdness, the creativity that comes from the weirdness, and just weird news in general. For real. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of you guys for listening, for tuning in, for just being the best people you are, and listening to my weird voice talk about weird things at weird times. I really, really, really want to thank you guys. Once again, be safe if you're driving. Back to the DUI topic. People are ruthless. Be careful while you're driving. It's really dangerous. It's really dangerous. And especially Saturdays, Sundays, And Friday nights, be real careful, especially during the holiday seasons. It is the holiday season by the time that I am recording this, and I really want you guys to be careful when it comes to stuff like that. I want everybody to, I don't know, take a weird fact you heard from this and tell somebody. Tell a parent, tell a friend, tell a coworker. Let them know. Spark up a conversation. Really have a good time with this. I just wanted to fill your brains with some weird facts that I've seen. I wanted to fill your brains with, I don't know, weird facts about myself, which weren't really weird. But I really want to know if you guys want a weird news podcast about transverse myelitis, because it is a completely different thing than you would think that it is. It's a really weird disease, I guess you could say, and I'd really like to explain it to you guys. I'd really love it if you'd want to listen, and I really, really want to thank you. I want to thank you for listening, tuning in to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. I want you to tweet us and follow us on social media, GSMC_Weird News. Listen to other podcasts that we have on the GSMC network, like hit us up, and I will see you next time. Bye!